Hi there, I've got a new camera. And this is it, the little Sony HX95 pocket camera. I was having lunch with a friend recently and he was telling me about this little camera he's got. He takes it with him everywhere, out and about, and it's got an amazing 30x zoom lens on it as well. I thought, wow, yeah, so I thought I'd check it out. So I looked online and I saw one for a very good price, the HX95, and it shoots 4K as well. The zoom lens though, yeah, fantastic. I mean, it's the equivalent of 24 to 720mm. So that's amazing. Normally to get that focal length I'd have to take one of my Fuji cameras and my SP500 Tamron, fully manual. Okay, there's no comparison in the quality between the two cameras. It doesn't match up to the Fuji cameras, obviously not, but it is pretty good, particularly if you shoot RAW, although the dynamic range is not very great. But I have to say right from the very start, this is not a review of the camera. It's not a thorough review of the camera. Really what this video is going to be about is what do the pictures look like? How are the still images? What's the video like? Because regarding video, it can shoot up to 50 frames per second in 1080p and 4K 25 frames per second, which is excellent for me because I tend to shoot in those frame rates on my Fuji cameras. So I shoot either 4K in 25 or 50. I'm shooting 25 frames per second in 4K on the X-T3 at the moment. Also, this shoots 100 frames per second slow-mo. So what else does it have? Well, the real deal breaker, and if it didn't have this, I would never have bought it, is the little electronic pop-up viewfinder. Fantastic. This is great, really is. With this, you can see everything that's actually displayed on the monitor for critical focus. But with a small sensor, you've got much more depth of field. Fantastic to have the power of a little camera like this in your pocket. Brilliant. The zoom lens is good. The one thing I forgot to mention, it has a flip-up monitor. Yeah, great. So it's brilliant, so you can actually vlog yourself with it, you know, vlog yourself to death with it. Neat, isn't it? Yeah, fantastic. You have to have that little electronic viewfinder down when you raise it, but apart from that, works a treat. Yeah, I'm very impressed with this little cam, I have to say. So, let's get down to it, guys. Let's have a look at the pictures. So these are a variety of images taken with the Sony HX95, mostly in aperture priority mode, and with an ISO of either 200 or 400, with some of the latter images taken at just 80 ISO, its lowest setting. This one at ISO 3200, which is not recommended unless you're after a grainy effect. The very first time in my life as a photographer, an image taken in scene mode. Yes, actually it's the only way to shoot extreme macro, which is excellent by the way. So let's take a look at the zoom lens and see how effective it is. It actually zooms from 4.25mm to 118mm, which as I've said before equates to 24 to 720mm in full frame terms. And that's approximately a 6 times conversion. The camera's image stabilization works very well, And most of the time, so does the autofocus, which is contrast based and so will hunt and fail to lock on at times, obviously with low contrast scenes. When zooming out, even on a tripod, the image wobbles somewhat for a moment, and again when zooming in. Also the focus tends to shift as well, especially on low contrast subjects. 1080p movie is stabilised, but sadly the 4K is not. However, the slight shake induced by shooting in 4K, especially handheld, can be smoothed out in post of course. For general filming, a monopod would be very useful, although not exactly pocketable, to keep this little Sony more stable at the long end of the zoom, particularly when shooting in 4K of course, which as I say is not stabilised. Okay, so here's a brief resolution test, and a competition if you like, comparing footage from the HX95 and the Fuji X-T3 with 55 to 200mm lens. I think we already know the winner. All these images, both video and stills, with exception of the zoom in and out of the pink flower, were handheld, proving that the IBIS works very well. I guess there's a couple of omissions on this camera. One is for capturing audio. There's no mic input. It has a built-in mic, but when it's windy, it's an issue of course. Still, you can't have everything I guess, but there is also one other thing I failed to mention, that this particular model, the HX95, doesn't have manual focusing. So a bit of a bummer, but the next model up does, the HX99. So if that's important for you, yeah, and it is for most photographers I guess, then the HX99 is the one to go for. It also has a touch screen too. Okay, so let's conclude with an AV of movies and stills, showing this tiny cam's potential. So, if you were considering buying a compact camera with a long-range lens, I certainly recommend this one. I'll leave a link below for the techie specs on this camera and hope you've enjoyed seeing some of its capabilities. Anyway, I hope this has been useful, and if you like, please subscribe and bash the bell for future notifications. And till next time, cheers!